You're sitting across from a prospect right now. Maybe not literally, but mentally you are. And you're already losing. Because the moment you decided to sell to them, you lost all your leverage. You became the supplicant, the one who needs the deal more than they need your product. And they felt it. They always feel it. Your desperation has a scent, and in a negotiation, scent is everything. Here's what most sales teams get catastrophically wrong. They operate from a position of acceptance. Every prospect is a yes waiting to happen. Every objection is a speed bump on the road to closing. Every conversation is a sales conversation. But what if that's backwards? What if the entire architecture of modern sales is inverted? Let me tell you about a company called Stripe. In the early days, before they became a $16 billion payment processor, they had a sales problem. Not a numbers problem. Their product was genuinely revolutionary, but their sales team was hemorrhaging deals. And Stripe's founder, Patrick Collison, made a decision that sounds insane until you understand the mechanism. He told his sales team, reject 70% of inbound leads. Not because those leads were bad, but because selling to the wrong customer costs more than walking away. When you're fighting to close a bad fit, you're burning energy that could go towards someone who needs what you sell. You're also training your customer base to expect negotiation, friction, and compromise from day one. And that customer relationship never recovers from that imbalance. But here's where it gets dark. Stripe wasn't just optimizing for revenue. They were optimizing for power. By rejecting customers, they created scarcity. They became the prize. Founders would get rejected by Stripe and spend the next year reapplying, changing their business to fit Stripe's criteria. Stripe didn't chase growth. Growth chased them. Their sales team's job wasn't to convince. It was to qualify them out. This is the inversion your sales staff needs to understand, and it rewires their entire nervous system. When you're trained to sell, your brain enters a state of seeking. You're always looking for the in, the angle, the way to make them say yes. This state activates your fear circuits. You feel the pressure of the quota. You feel the possibility of failure. You're operating from scarcity, and scarcity makes you small. But when you're trained to reject, your brain enters a state of authority. You become the filter. You're evaluating them, not the other way around. Suddenly, your tonality changes. Your pace slows. Your questions become genuine, not manipulative. Because you're actually willing to walk. And prospects can feel the difference between a salesperson who needs the deal and a salesperson who doesn't. Here's the educational layer most sales trainers skip. It's called the contrast effect. When someone experiences rejection, especially unexpected rejection from a position of authority, their brain releases cortisol and norepinephrine. They're primed. They become more interested, not less, because now their status has been challenged. The person who rejected them is no longer supplicant. They're the gatekeeper. And humans want access to gatekeepers. This is why high-end luxury brands never use traditional sales tactics. Why did you want that watch more after the jeweler said he wasn't sure you were the right customer for it? Now, let's talk about what this actually looks like operationally, because theory is worthless if your team doesn't know how to execute it. Your sales call structure needs to invert. Instead of opening with your pitch, let me tell you what we do. You open with your criteria. Before we go further, I need to make sure this is a fit. We work with companies doing over $5 million in annual revenue. You're there? Then you listen, and as they talk, you're mentally building a checklist. Budget, team capability, urgency, honesty. And if they fail the checklist, you say something radical. I don't think we're the right fit for you right now. Watch what happens next. 90% of the time, they'll try to convince you otherwise. They'll suddenly become more engaged, more eager, more willing to negotiate on price. Because you just switched the power dynamic. You became the one saying no. They became the one seeking approval. Your team will resist this at first. It feels wrong. It feels like you're leaving money on the table. And you are. You're leaving bad money on the table. But bad money is expensive. Bad customers require more onboarding, more support, more hand-holding. They churn faster. they leave bad reviews. They're not references, they're warnings. But here's the trap I mentioned. Once you implement this system, once your sales team starts rejecting customers, they'll feel the power, they'll taste it. And rejection becomes intoxicating. They'll start rejecting good fits. They'll become arrogant about their criteria. They'll pass on deals that would have scaled the company, and they'll rationalize it as maintaining standards. The line between selective and self-sabotaging is invisible until you cross it. You'll watch your best salesperson turn away a Fortune 500 company because they wanted a 10% discount. You'll hear them say, "We don't negotiate," as if it's a principle rather than a trauma response to finally having power. And the company will suffer for it. So the real skill, the thing that separates companies that weaponize rejection from companies that weaponize themselves, is knowing when to reject and when to close. It's knowing that the goal isn't to say no. The goal is to say no strategically, so that when you say yes, it means something. Your sales team needs to understand that they're not gatekeepers. They're architects of a customer ecosystem. Every person they reject shapes the culture of every person they accept. And sometimes you need to accept someone who doesn't fit perfectly because they bring something intangible, a reference, a market position, a founder story that shifts your trajectory. The question isn't whether to sell or reject. The question is whether you're making that choice or whether you're letting the prospect make it for you. Stop selling, start rejecting, and know what you're actually building when you do.